first briefing here at the Executive Mansion, especially in the foyer. Since our last briefing, before we left for NIMBA, we are happy to be back here and to update the country on the presidency, the actions and activities of His Excellency President Joseph Boakai, what he's done, what he's currently doing, and what he intends to do going forward. Today is Friday, June 13th, the year 2025. As always, the week has been very busy for His Excellency, working for the Liberian people, ensuring that all of what he intends to do all aligns with the interests of the Liberian people. Actually, during the course of the week, His Excellency started a week in Bomi County, but prior to that, he was in NIMBA, where he had gone to turn on the ArcelorMittal's concentrator plant way there in NIMBA County, for which it will help to create job opportunities for Liberians and to also improve the economy of our country, despite the challenges that have been noted, and the President highly noted the challenges. He also had a very important meeting with the CEO of ArcelorMittal, Mr. Mittal himself. I can confirm to all of you this afternoon that there was a one-on-one, or someone may say a tete-a-tete between the two leaders, particularly our President and the CEO. And in that meeting, following the meeting, the President did speak with us about the importance of that and the challenges within the community, especially in the interest of the citizens of Liberia who are over there, the issue of jobs, the issue of wages, the issue of ensuring that Liberians who are in that part of the country are gainfully employed, and that the company lives up to what is enshrined in the NDA. Of course, the President is aware of the review process, but also of the need for renewal. However, that conversation hasn't started, especially from His Excellency's standpoint, and he's very concerned that besides ArcelorMittal, all concessionaires follow the mineral development agreement that the country signed with them. Following that, the President visited the home of the former First Lady, Madam Nancy Doe, who is deceased, and he went there to pay tribute on behalf of the government and people of Liberia, and he expressed his deepest sympathy, and he reached out to the families and their plans on doing more, and hopefully to be a part of the activities that will be happening for the barrier. More importantly, this barrier, the President has been informed, especially so earlier as you all could recall, that the President did set up a committee for the reburial of some of our former presidents, and one of such was President Samuel Doe, the late, and these activities, family has informed the Presidency that that will also be a part of the reburial efforts, where former President will be reburied along with his wife. So as the family is currently planning the arrangement, the President is really looking forward to doing his part in contributing and supporting the family as he continues to do. The President was in Bomi over the weekend, where he had gone to be a part of harvesting activities on his farm, where he called on Liberians to really pay attention to the agriculture sector. And he also promised to contribute, particularly from a personal standpoint, to ensure that he can contribute fishing activities or fishing implements to other people who are interested or invested in the industry. He promised to at least be able to produce or provide over 10,000 or more fingerlings to people who are interested in the industry. But besides that, he's also encouraged Liberians to invest in the agriculture sector, as agriculture is one of the key engines of our country, and that will help to provide the food that we need for our communities and families. While still in Bomi, the president did visit different communities, but especially while he was in Tottenberg. We visited the United Pentecostal Mission School, where the school has some issues, the dilapidation of the structure or the roof of the building, and he promised to, do some work on that. The children were very excited to see our president, and he promised to do a lot more for them, something that he already started doing as we speak. Renovation works on the school has started and is continuing. Also, during the course of the week, His Excellency had a special cabinet meeting. As you know, last week or very recently, Liberia was successful in winning the much talked about United Nations Security Council as a non-permanent member. Following that win, there was a celebration held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Following that, the cabinet meeting that was held was basically to, first of all, appreciate all of the team members, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Madam Sarah Besto-Yanti, and her team for the tremendous work that they've done so far in securing for us this seat. More importantly, the cabinet meeting was interested particularly in understanding what next, where we are. As you all know, Liberia will actively begin for part next year, that is January 2026. But prior to that, there are processes and procedures leading to that. There are plans now, so the cabinet was briefed as to where the ministry is, but also the congratulatory messages that have been received from countries in the world congratulating Liberia on her hard-earned victory. One of the other plans is to be able to secure a space in New York, an office space, where the team will be there, and the recruitment of qualified and competent Liberians who will be there to really work for Liberia. Because for His Excellency the President, this is not just about being a non-permanent member of the United Nations, but to really achieve what he outlined to achieve at the United Nations Security Council, especially as a non-permanent member. So the President is very clear as to some of the key issues that the country hopes to push, such as peace and security, youth empowerment, but more importantly, the issue of women, peace and security is high on the agenda for Liberia. And despite being the representation, it is not just for Liberia. Over 180 countries voted Liberia for this position, and it's very, very, very important that Liberia will achieve what is outlined for the country and the world. And also, Liberia being a member of the Economic Community of West African States, that is ECOWAS, with the current challenge within the region, but also on the African continent. And Liberia also having a shared history of where we've come from as a country, the challenges we've had, and where we are, but just relaying or removing ourselves from those dark ages of 14 years of civil conflict, to be on this seat, to be a voice, to be a replica, and especially so what we've done so far since the cessation of the war, since the ending of the war, where Liberia now have had successive elections and successful elections, changing of one leadership to another, standing tall and even without disagreement, using our laws to disagree and removing leadership from office through the ballots and no longer the bullet system. So for Liberia, as a country like ours, who also play a key role during the revolutionary days in many of the countries in the region around us, saw Liberia as a safe haven to that. So for coming out of those processes and even having a 14-year period of conflict, to coming back and building our image and standing and receiving this endorsement from over 100, or specifically 181 member states of the United Nations is such a huge success, and President Boakai is very happy, but more so, he carries such a weight and he's looking forward to achieving all of what he intends to achieve. During the course of the week, the President also had a very fascinating interview with the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. That interview will be aired soon, and I'm sure all of you will be interested to follow the President's interview. They talk about a number of different issues, and I will let, once the interview is aired, then we can begin to have the conversation from there. Also, you all know that on yesterday, the President did hold a program of signing the performance contract for public officials, especially ministers and heads of agencies. But more importantly, the President did award the high-performing agencies who did extremely well. As you know, when the President got elected and inaugurated, subsequently began to appoint his ministers, part of the process during the confirmation hearing was to sign a performance contract. So as a minister or head of agency, once you sign that performance contract, you are expected to be able to achieve. So the team here from the Cabinet Secretariat was able to go through and review and ensure that the achievements that were laid out were achieved by those ministries and agencies, and those ones were awarded. And this is something that will continue, and the performance contract were also signed on yesterday to renew that. Later this afternoon, His Excellency will visit the home of the late Honorable James Endo, who is deceased, and the President has expressed his deepest sympathy to the families and is looking forward to actually going in person to, be a part of that, and, express his condolences on behalf of the Liberian people, but also in his own name, because he did have a relationship with the family as well. We'll stop here for now. Good afternoon, and thank you for paying attention, and we look forward to taking your questions as we go ahead. So you will call your name, the institution that you represent, and your question, and we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Julius Compton. I report for Fortune TV. My question, you just spoke about the performance contract, and those who perform beginning now and going forward will be recognized. What happens to those who will not perform as per the contract that is signed? Thank you.
So my name is Readiness Levy, and I report for the State News Agency, that's the Liberia News Agency. My question has to do with your indication about the accelerator aspect. I witnessed when we got to the place, I witnessed and saw on social media some level of protest by some other groupings. Does the President see this as something that he have to take into consideration, or what is the next step that the executive is thinking about those protesters?
My name is Anthony Jeffer for ABC Radio. Thank you for the presentation. You highlighted the President's interest or his presence in Limba to join on or commission the Aslameta project, which aims at empowering all Liberians. I'm also concerned whether the President is concerned about some of the comments coming from leaders of Limba County. At the program, the superintendent of Limba County made a recommendation that as a company or the MD or the concessionaire goes in, expand, so should it also be with their engagement with the people? One. And a few days ago, Senator Yan Twine was also on the very Aslamenta Liberia. Is the president concerned about comments coming from the red affected counties of AML project? Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So, good afternoon, Madam PBS. My name is Basta Talu, and I report for the Liberia Broadcasting System, or ELPC. So, my question has to do with, earlier on, 2 or 3 months ago, on the e-marshal page, it was announced that the president will be having media engagements with radio stations. But up to now, we've not seen it. So I just want to know what is the constraint, or what is stopping it from happening. And the other one, the next one will come. Do the second batch.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. On the first question of performance, so there are different areas. The first question on for non-performance, those who wouldn't perform as per the contract that they have signed with His Excellency. Firstly, because this have been one of the first things that have happened in our Liberian governance system, so it's taking some time for some people within the different agencies to understand the importance of this process. So besides just, because some of them, some people will normally do the work, but not update or report or give the information that's necessary. And the Cabinet Secretariat has done an amazing job to educate, to in fact invite some leadership within the different agencies to be a part of the training system, to train them to understand why this performance system is important and how they can go about reporting that. So for non-performance, after all these trainings and all these updates and stuff, the president will take an action. In instances where there's a need to fire, the president will fire. In instances where there's a need to go through a review process and advice, because it will be dependent on the level of non-performance. So, for a typical example, if you go to school, there are times you'll make average, there are times you'll make below average, there's times you will actually literally fail. So in those instances, of course, there will be instances where there are non-performance, and then the president will take specific actions as to the level of non-performer or non-performance, and what specific action will be that. But it's going to be, or it is, a meticulous process. It's not just a hurry kind of system as well. Additionally, on the issue of mental steel and the protest action, of course, the president notes very seriously the concerns of the Liberian people, especially the citizens of Nimba. And the president was there. He did listen to his superintendent. As you know, the superintendents are the direct representative of the president in the counties. So for Superintendent Mafie, she did speak about the challenges and call on the company to really improve on the services to the community, but more than that, to ensure that the community is on the table during the conversation as to the challenges. And President Bwaka is really committed to listening to the citizens and ensuring that the citizen voices are high on the agenda and are met. And that was some of the things that he did speak with Mr. Matal about. And one of the good things is that this process, beyond just what's on the surface, but the interest of the Liberian people is a priority of the government and the president, and he's going to do everything, whether it is the views of the senator, as you've mentioned, or it's the view of the superintendent, or the view of the common citizens, or those who want jobs that they can't find jobs, or who are complaining of wages, who are complaining of conditions, of the different services that the company is providing, particularly those that have the component of corporate social responsibility that needs to happen. So it's something that the president himself has taken up with the CEO and members of the executive team of the company, and it's something that he will continue to do. But most importantly is to see results. It's not just to talk about these, but to also ensure that before any improvement goes forward, that these underlying issues and concerns must be worked on. On the question of the media engagement, so the media engagement component have been in different folds. The president intends to do international media engagement, our local media engagement, the executive mansion press team engagement, and the general media community in Liberia. As you know, we started that with the annual dinner that was held at the ministerial complex, where media executives and journalists and all of you were there, a representative of other media organizations. The leadership were invited. I say this to refer particularly to the Rural Journalists Association, because I know our people there in the counties, that was one of the issues that they had. Oh, we didn't have rural journalists, but we did make the case, and because of one or two challenges in logistics, we were able to invite the leadership of the organization. But beyond that, there are plans to do more, and we took serious note as to involving more journalists to be a part of the annual dinner that we tend to have regularly. On the issue of the visitation to radio station, I'm sure that's what you mean. We're working on that. The president will definitely come to the Liberia broadcasting system, Liberia broadcasting system. I'm sure that's why Flashlight is very concerned about. She wants to see the president. She's covered for a long time now to come to the studio. But yes, we're working on scheduling, working on modalities to have the president come visit and speak to the public on the different issues that you all will have. Look forward to letting you know when. But I can say it's in the pipeline, will happen soon. I think so far those are the first batch of questions that you have. So if you have other ones, we look forward to. That's Julius.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So Madam PBS, thank you. And we understand that we have three separate branches of government, but at the same time, when there are issues that have the propensity to undermine the peace of the country, I guess the president will be concerned. And my question is in relation to the ongoing saga just next to talking about the investigation of the Capitol Hill arson attack. Is the president concerned? And two people have already allegedly started linking the president to prejudice in that particular case or investigation. Evidence of his initial visit immediately after the Capitol Hill got fire. I'd like you to speak to these two issues. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Prince Sala, and I report for the newspaper. Yesterday, the president announced.
Yes, we're listening to you.
The president yesterday announced.
Use the mic so we can hear you clearly.
Yesterday, the president said he will be announce a visit to various entities. Can you tell us what is the rationale behind this visit? Thank you.
I thought you wanted to know which places he was going.
Again, Madam PBS, my name is Anthony. And so, that was not part of your presentation, but the Ministry of Labor has come under serious scrutiny from the Liberian Senate as a result of the issuing of over 10,000 work permits. And the Senate has accused the minister of issuing those permits to foreigners for jobs reserved for Liberia by Constitution. Is the president in the know? Has he heard that? What is he doing? Is he concerned because it concerns the executive? Thank you.
Okay, thank you again. On the question of the separate nature of our government, I'm sure this is something that we all have spoken about here in time past. Our constitution is very clear as to the different nature of our governing system, that is separate but coordinate. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can do anything, or it means the independence of each of the branches of government. And I say this to mean that, especially when you mentioned that the president visited the Capitol. Imagine the Capitol building is our symbol, our political symbol, a symbol of the country. Similarly, as the executive mansion is the symbol of the presidency, the Capitol building is a symbol of the people, because all powers are inherent in the people. And when the building was gutted by fire, and as the president of the country, I'm not sure you were suggesting that the Liberian people expected His Excellency not to visit the Capitol. I'm sure had he not done that, that would have been a topical issue that we will forever be talking about. But it was important that the president did visit, and that he reassured the Liberian people of the leadership interest and the leadership concern about bringing to book whoever was responsible. And as you know, as the head of the government, and as the head of the executive branch, but also as the head of the Liberian people, it is his responsibility to ensure that whatever happened in our country, that answers are given to the Liberian people. So he had to be there and reassure the Liberian people that his government will do everything to bring corporate to book. And by everything, he meant supporting all of the legal systems that has to go on. Because by supporting, you need, when the situation happened, you needed water, you needed the LWSC, you needed security apparatuses, you needed all hands on deck. And as the head of government, he, had to lend all the necessary support. But when it came to the investigation, the president is not interested as to who is or who was accused, whoever it is, and he said that very clearly, he meant it. Whoever is or was responsible will be brought to book. And as you all have seen, the investigation is ongoing. The president hasn't said anything. Of course, he's briefed as to what's happening in the country and all of the national issues, the topical issues, and we definitely also inform him through our briefing as to the different topics that are happening. But to say he's prejudicing the investigation, that is far from reality. The president has not said anything, he hasn't done anything, but as you know, the police, the Ministry of Justice, is in charge of investigating crimes or things that happen in the country. So they're on top of the investigation, and that's part of the coordinate. So if you commit a crime, you go through the police, and you have the court, to say whether or not you were the one who did, and that process is ongoing. The president has not interfered in any of those. He's looking forward to the court system going through, and whoever is liable for that will be made to pay. As to the anonymous visit to the offices, the president will visit offices like he, mentioned, unannounced. And the rationale, as you ask about it, is to just check in with his officials, to check in with his people, how they're faring, how they're doing, what the challenges are. And also meet with regular staff, because it's governance sometimes may seem easy, but it's not a walk in the park. So sometimes people who are working for the presidency or working for the president, working for the country, working for the government, it also gives you an extra boost to see the president coming to your agency, coming to your ministry. You want that the president can see you and interact with you and understand the work that you're doing. And it's going to be unannounced, so there's nothing that I want to make sure that you start painting, you start sweeping. So just seeing what's wrong with the system, or what's happening, what's the negative happening, or what are the challenges there. The president wants to also be there to reassure the people who are working for the government that do your best, work for the Liberian people, because that is in the interest of the Liberian people. Talking about the over 10,000 work permits, this is an issue that the presidency is following. We know the Ministry of Labor has been in the news for a bit now in relation to work permits. And the president also has talked a lot about finding jobs for people. So this is something that's developing and the president is following closely. Where there's a need for his intervention, his understanding and finding out, or doing something that needs to be done in this, he will take his action. But the president is someone who really loves for his people to do their job. If you're doing something and it's not the right thing, the expectation is that you do your best and do it the right way. But this does not suggest that there's anything going wrong. But because, as you mentioned, it's been in the news lately, so the president is following. And should there be a need for him to take any specific action, that will happen. So thank you all so much.
Follow on that question.
Yes.
Senator DeLong has recommended for a vote of no confidence in the minister. In fact, he's even suggesting that the Senate recommend to the president for his dismissal. Should that be the president take that decision?
Well, again, I'm sure you were the one who asked about the separate nature of the branches of government, the different branches of government. The Senate can do their work. The senators can have their views. They can chastise the minister if they want. They have oversight responsibility. If they have any particular issue with the president, or the president's appointee, like the Minister of Labor, as you mentioned, they will communicate with the president. But the president does not just, one senator will not just say we recommend a vote of no confidence or we recommend a suspension, the president suspend the president or dismiss this person. The president, again, like I mentioned, their systematic system that have been put in place as to appraisals, as to performance contract. With the Ministry of Labor deals with a whole lot of issues, and not just work permits. Work permit is just a component of what they do. If for any reason the Senate has an issue with, and they've been discussing their challenges within the work permit regime, and there's challenges there, and their recommendation for improvement, if there anything that they can recommend to the president, as you mentioned, they should. And it is the president's decision on what he will do with information as provided him, but not because the senator says this, it means the president will do it immediately. Thank you all very much, and have yourselves a wonderful Friday. Thank God it's Friday, so they say, right? Have a good afternoon.
So that was the voice of the